My favorite laptop last year in 2022 was the Legion 7 Slim. This is the 2023 model. This is the Intel variant. If you've seen Legion laptops, you know they're pretty large laptops with really good cooling. This one here is the Slim variant. So you can actually see the Legion 7 is an actual slim laptop. You can see there, very, very thin, kind of like one finger thick on the laptop itself there, despite the fact that it's a 16-inch laptop. Very premium. You get an all-metal chassis. The Slim 5 that I've reviewed already is kind of their like middling or more budget option. This is the 7 lineup. So this one is very premium. All of the different features of this laptop are going to speak towards premium build. If you look at the 7i Pro that I've reviewed with the 4090 previously, that was, a full bore, large gaming laptop, very premium as well. But this one is actually more premium in many ways. I loved the 2022 model of this laptop. I had the AMD variant. This year, there's a lot of upgrades to the laptop. This is the Intel variant. The AMD is not out yet. Who knows when it's actually going to launch. But this model here is actually quite nice. You can definitely use this as a pure gamer laptop, but it's going to be a thinner option. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit thinner, there's options out there, but if you want a thinner gaming laptop that still doesn't have any compromises and is going to do very well in gaming, this is potentially one of the best ones you can get, if not the best you can get so far this year. But I think a lot of people are going to look at this as a hybrid device. I've said in my other videos, I love hybrid devices. Devices that are, kind of slim, they lean towards professional work and gaming, kind of something in the middle. Not just a pure professional laptop like, Asus has a lot of these like OLED type laptops, and they scream towards professional design. This one is kind of something in between. It has a lot of features that you get if you're a professional, so like an SD card reader. Gamers aren't going to care about an SD card reader. When you actually load up the graphics and you go into GeForce Experience and you start to load up the game and you start to update the drivers, it actually recommends the studio drivers. So that's the first hint I would say, probably that this is kind of a professional type device, not just a gaming laptop. What I decided to do is that you can actually load up the game ready drivers. So I loaded up the game ready drivers on the laptop, did a lot of game testing. I loaded up the studio drivers as well, did some game testing and some video editing. This model right here is kind of a mid-range spec. You can go with the 13900H or the 13700H. I decided to go with the 13700H because, again, this is a thin laptop and the 13700H is still going to perform very well. You can get a 4060 or a 4070. And again, I went with the 4060. There's not a huge difference between the RTX 4060 and 4070. Maybe 5 to 10% performance uplift on the 4070 instead of the 4060. I think the premium you're going to pay for the 4070 makes the 4060 variant here very compelling, because this was actually not a very expensive laptop. I got this for 1,500 Canadian dollars. Again, I bought it myself. That's going to be around 1150 or so American dollars. These actually come with soldered RAM and a SODIMM slot. So you get a little bit of each. You get soldered RAM on board, and then you get a SODIMM slot. This one here has 16 gigabytes soldered, and then it has an empty slot there. So it's very easy for me to just pop in a 16 gigabyte module and get 32 gigabytes of dual channel or quad channel memory. So that's one way you can save money, because if you buy those through Lenovo, you usually pay a bit of a premium. If you just buy the RAM yourself, you can toss it in and get 32 gigabytes, save some money. Very good CPU. And then you have a choice between the 4060 and 4070. They're both going to perform great, but I think for a lot of people, actually keeping the specs down a little bit from the website when you build this laptop and then just kitting it out yourself is really the way to go. 16 by 10, so you get a lot more real estate vertically here. So this is perfect for content consumption, content creators, because you can actually have a lot of stuff on the screen at the same time. People who are business professionals, students as well. You can have 2 full documents on the screen here because it's so large and you're not going to be compromising. Whereas if you go with something like a 14-inch laptop, typically, you're not getting as much screen real estate. You're going to be using a little bit closer. This is a full, basically almost desktop replacement in a pretty thin chassis. So I'm going to do my full standard review. I'm going to open up the laptop, look at the internals, look at all the upgradability. I'm going to look at the screen, the audio, typing experience, the build quality, ports, and then I'm also going to do some gaming. In this video here, I'm just going to test a couple really demanding games, and I'm going to do it externally so that you can hear the laptop, see how noisy it is, and I think you'll be really impressed with the scaling of the GPU, even on silent mode in this laptop. And I'll do some game capture for that so you can really see how this laptop performs kind of in benchmark, and I'll throw lots of really demanding games at it and test it and see how it actually performs with that 4060. I can give you a bit of a spoiler right now. This laptop performs very well. So if you are interested in my Legion reviews, I've reviewed, I think, most of them already this year, and I'm going to have more coming as well. I have other Lenovo laptops. I have some Asus reviews coming as well. And if you're interested in this specific laptop, I do have that gaming video coming, maybe another one as well. So do consider subscribing if you are interested, hitting the bell icon, whatever it does help me, and it'll help you as well keep track of any reviews that I have on this laptop or any other ones that are similar to it. This will be your charger. Let's see how big it is. Oh, it's slightly bigger than I anticipated. It's not going to be a gallium nitrate then. Oh, it's 230 watts. Okay. Yeah, it's actually a decent size for what it is. Not super large, not super slim. It's a weird addition there. So you get this kind of like felt type thing, just like the Legion 7 of your, probably the literature under here. Yeah, the guide. I'll just stick that in there. Yeah, and there's the Slim. So we reviewed the Legion 5 Slim, which was not slim, and this is the Legion 7 Slim, which is slim. This looks like the Legion 7 from 2022. Start just by looking at the kind of form factor of the outside. So it is quite slim. Obviously it's not going to be as slim as, a true Ultrabook, but it's slim for what it is. So, that's a finger there, slightly, I guess that's about as thick as a finger. There's the chassis, basically flush there, nice and slim on the back too. So it is actually a slim laptop. Again, considering it's 16-inch laptop and it's a gaming laptop, it's slim for what it is. And yeah, definitely right off the bat, it's more premium than the 5. The 5 is great and it's bang for the buck, very, very compelling. But this is definitely more premium than the 5 for the slim. Metal top, all metal here. This design here, this hinge is exactly like the 2022 model. And yeah, it's all metal. Metal bottom. I think that's metal. Yeah, that's a metal bottom. So on the left side here, we get our first intake there. You can see a nice big grill actually. Microphone, headphone, combo jack there. 2 USB-C. I'll put the specs up on the screen. This is the Intel model, so one of these is Thunderbolt. I don't know which one, but one of them is Thunderbolt. On the right side, you get an SD card reader. These have a little bit of like a hybrid style use. It's not just a gaming laptop for professionals. So they put in the SD card because, people who are going to be looking at these aren't just, hardcore gamers because they would get a Legion 7 Pro. Instead, these are for people like myself, I guess I'd say, who's more like a hybrid user. Who camera kill switch there and your vent on that side. Back looks good as well. I love these Legion 7 Slim. It's just almost exactly the same as 2022. Very sleek, all metal, brushed metal, almost like unfinished. I love it. It actually is super appealing to me. Anyways, I'll stop pandering now. So the nice thing is you can actually see the ports there. You can see the ports there. They actually label them just like last year and this year. You get 3 USB-A in the back, which is actually, that's more than last year. I don't think you got that many. I think you got a USB-C and 2 USB-A. They're all 10 gigabit, meaning you can do about 1,000 megabytes a second if you're doing like a SSD. So they're a little faster than what you often get on other devices that are 5 gigabit. This is the always on one, so you can charge devices overnight. HDMI, put the spec up on that, and then your proprietary charger. It charges over, obviously, the charger, but you can also do power delivery on the USB-C. You can power the device. You can also do display out, so you can, hook this up to like a display port or something like that, power monitor, external monitor, or you can also, and it will supply power. So if you have a portable monitor, it'll also power the monitor. You can also power the laptop itself, so you can give power in as well. Okay, and look inside the laptop here. It looks identical to the 2022 model, basically. Very similar to that. You still get that metal grill up there. It doesn't serve any purpose. It's a pure accent, and I like it. It actually looks nice. If you don't have that there, it just looks kind of plain. It basically just looks kind of neat. I don't know, maybe it lets some heat off, but probably not. Oh, and it has the ring style. So this actually has a fingerprint scanner then. The Legion 7 Pro doesn't even have that. They just have the little dot in the middle. I can see right by looking at it right off the bat. It has a dot in the middle. I mean, just not a fingerprint scanner. This is the ring style. This is the first laptop from Legion from 2023 that I've seen that has that ring. So, I mean, it looks like they're upping the premium game on this one quite a bit. Camera bump out here, so you get your camera and your microphone up there. I like bump outs. Keyboard and trackpad, we'll go over that, but it looks exactly the same as the 2022 model, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. This model is actually very easy to get into. I literally just used my fingernail and just pulled that open. So that's nice. Basically go like that. Ooh, okay. And it's open. Let's have a look at what we have. So the lid, the bottom here, thermal pad, NVMe, I suppose. Keep those cool. A little bit of like support in the middle. It'll sit on like near your ramp, just so the laptop doesn't kind of sag. Big metal grill there. Let's explore the laptop now. So we have these big speakers here. All the Legion 7 lineup has these kind of square, larger speakers, and they actually sound really nice. On other models, I haven't tested it yet, but I'm assuming they will sound good. We'll find out. But those are nice Legion 7 style speakers. Your first NVMe over here, that's going to be with your operating system. We'll see what's on it and what kind of speeds it gets. But that's your first one. Of course, you can replace it if need be. Second one over here. So it has dual NVMe. Last year, the AMD model didn't have dual NVMe. The Intel model did, so that's the same as last year, but you get that upgradability, so you can throw your operating system on there, throw in like a 4 terabyte NVMe to get, for storage. The prices have come down so much that it's actually becoming very viable to just upgrade yourself. Huge battery, 99.9 watt-hour battery. So you can't get a larger battery in a laptop, at least not in North America. I know you can't because it's not legal. So that's the largest battery you can get in one of these. If you're flying, for example, you can't get 100 watts. And then when we open up here, you get your RAM slot. You only get one SODIMM slot, same as last year. So there's no changes there. Let's open that up and see what we have here. Nothing. So I ordered this with 16. So you have 16 on board, which is perfect, not 8. So you get 16 on board. I think last year it was 8, which was kind of dumb because then you throw in a 16 gigabyte module and you're not getting dual channel or quad channel all the way through. This has 16 on board, so you can just run it like that. Then you can put in a 16 gigabyte module. You're going to want to make sure you get DDR5, put in a SODIMM stick there, and then you're going to have 32. And all you need to do is buy one stick, and it's not going to cost you a fortune that way. Dual fan setup here, dual fan from here. Probably they look like they're the same size, so I don't know which is CPU and GPU. That says Intel, so I don't know, maybe the chip's there and the GPU's there. You get some cooling on your VRMs and RAM here too. And you get thermal pad on the SODIMM as well. So overall looks pretty good inside, to be honest. The fact that it has 16 gigabytes on board is nice because you can upgrade this to 32 quite easily. And I suspect for most people 32 gigabytes is enough. Of course, then you could throw in a 32 gigabyte. So you could throw in a 16 gigabyte module and get dual channel 32, which is perfect. And I think most people are going to do that. Although you could throw in a 32 gigabyte module, then you're going to get 48 gigabytes of RAM, which is a lot. Easy to upgrade this and get pretty good specs out of it. Keep the cost pretty low. This one didn't cost me a fortune because I kept the specs fairly reasonable. And it was actually pretty cheap, to be honest, for what it was. Okay, just a quick test for people. I've had somebody ask before I even published this video while I'm recording. I just told someone about it and they said, does it fit a dual-sided NVMe? So I'm going to test a dual-sided NVMe. I have a Cinebench Rocket 4 terabyte, great drive, and we'll just test the clearance. Oh, nope. Nope, doesn't work. You can see right there. So you can't use a dual-sided. Most NVMEs are not dual-sided. And here's the Wi-Fi chip. It sits underneath the left NVMe, the one that ships with it. So let's also see if we can fit a dual-sided NVMe inside there. I kind of doubt it because there's a Wi-Fi chip there. Oh, it actually will fit. So you can get a dual-sided in the left side. It'll sit right on top of that Wi-Fi though. So you might get a little temperature issue there, maybe, but it'll fit. So, you know, a Cinebench or something like that that's not super hot might be an issue, might be the way to go. Okay, so now we'll have a look at the keyboard itself. So it's the exact same keyboard layout as any other Legion from 2022, 2023, etc. Nice full-size Legion keyboard, no difference there. You get the numpad on the side here, very close to the backspace and with the numlock, so I sometimes hit that by accident, but looks exactly the same. The keycaps themselves are exactly the same as the 2022 model, no different. A little different than the 2023 Pro, for example. Those have a black key and they're slightly more tacky. This is that smooth key as well. Great layout. I like the layout of the Legion keyboards overall. The main difference here is that slim models have a slightly smaller keycap. The physical keycaps are a little bit shallower. The key travel is still quite good. You'll see there's a lot of key travel. The best keyboards you're going to find on gaming laptops are on Legions. Legions have superb keyboards. No difference between last year's model and this year. It's exactly the same. So if you've used last year's model, it's the same. 10 out of 10 keyboard, no question. You can switch between modes here. So you can see there on the screen, that's the number 2, which is just static boot. That's the one I like. 3 is off. 4 is chaos. The Legion 5 Slim only has 3. This one apparently has 5. 5 is off, I guess. Yeah, 5 is off. You come down here and you go to Legion. This is in the Lenovo Vantage. Come down here, you go to Customize, and let's turn on the lights a bit here. And yeah, you can go in here and you can change it. You can affect your keys. You can, you know, auto rippling always in all these different modes. So they added the glass trackpad on this model. I think it's a glass trackpad. It's hard to tell. It's so smooth. I would say this is probably the glass trackpad model. But yeah, it's a very smooth trackpad, very, very smooth to run your fingers over. It actually feels better than the Legion 7i Pro, to be honest. That's just, it was good, but it was a little bit tacky or something. This feels nice. Very nice click on the Legion trackpads and very big and very precise. Now we'll look at Lenovo Vantage. I was in here before, obviously. but we'll see what we got in here. Pretty standard stuff in here. You get your thermal modes, so you can go balanced, quiet, or performance. You can also just hit function Q, and then I'll switch it. Performance, quiet, balanced. Balanced is kind of like what you're doing day-to-day stuff. Silent is if you're just typing, you don't want the fans to go. Performance is when you're doing like very demanding tasks, gaming tasks, video editing, that kind of stuff. You're going to throw in performance. I found that these Legion laptops are so powerful recently that you can actually game a lot on balanced mode instead of performance, and you still get really good frame rates, and it's much quieter. So you might want to consider that as well. You don't always have to throw in performance mode. If you're playing a super demanding game, like I don't know, Hogwarts Legacy or Star Wars Jedi Survival, you may want to throw in performance mode, just get that extra performance there, and it'll be a little noisier, the fans will be a little bit noisier, but I find that a lot of times balance mode is, I just leave it on that for most things. They're so capable nowadays. You get GPU overclocking there, so you can come in here, 150 is like the default, you can throw up to 200, adding 200 megahertz to the GPU clock, which is going to be, you'll notice it'll make a difference. VRAM, so you can upgrade, you can overclock memory up to 400 megahertz, which is good. So you're going to actually notice quite a big difference there. So that's a nice thing to have. A lot of these 2023 models are having it. Network boost, I don't use it. Auto close, don't use it. Hybrid mode is for your graphics. You can go hybrid, which it'll switch between graphics. It'll switch between the IP GPU when you're just doing day-to-day stuff. When you're gaming, it'll turn on the dedicated graphics. The other one you might want to do is only iGPU. It'll completely turn off the dedicated graphics if you're really worried about battery. Or you can go DGPU, which will require a restart, and that'll basically make sure that you're in like maximum gaming mode. It disables the iGPU, and you'll only have your RTX graphic, which will drain your battery faster. However, you'll get better performance. So for now, we'll just leave it on that. Overdrive is for the panel. You can increase the response rate of the panel. You will want to do updates through here. Also, you're going to want to do them through a Windows Update, but you come in here. This is where you'll find BIOS updates. And other specific things for your system that Windows won't necessarily find. So I come in here when I first buy a system, and I do my updates, and then I check it periodically. Okay, let's test the audio now. So if you have headphones, you'll want to be careful right now. We'll start a little bit lower at 40, but this is a Legion 7, so I suspect it's going to have very loud speakers and be very nice. So okay, so we're at only 30 right now. Holy. Oh, we're at 40 right now. This laptop's going to get loud. I'm going to turn it up. So it's extremely loud. So excellent speakers, excellent. Exactly what I would expect from Legion 7 based speakers. Okay, so to test the spoken part, I'm going to play my younger brother's video here, Idiot Ben, because he speaks in his videos and he's funny. So let's listen to this.
Another room with a crib and there's a doll inside? Then who was crying? Little side note, I love how there are pictures and frames all over the place, but they're all like the same 4 pictures repeated. Why does this family have so many copies of this exact same picture of a clown? It's not even really that scary of a clown, honestly.
Okay, so the screen is exceptionally bright. I didn't actually anticipate it to be this bright. I feel like Lenovo underestimates their screen brightnesses for the Legions at least. Maybe not their other stuff, but I've noticed that they're actually brighter than I would personally anticipate. Specs here are good, 1600p. It's a 19 by 10 aspect ratio, so slightly more height on the screen. And I mean, you can see there that it's 1600p and high refresh rate. Holy smokes, 240 hertz. I didn't realize it was that high. I thought it was 165. So 1600p, 240 hertz screen. I must have misremembered that. I thought it was a lower refresh screen. So that is a very high refresh rate screen. That's, I think, the highest refresh rate screen I've ever used in my entire life. Yeah, so 240 hertz refresh rate, that's high. And it's very bright. So the screen is excellent in terms of gaming and stuff. But let's look at the colors and see here. This is a high sRGB screen as well, so it's great for content creators. The slim lineup is kind of geared towards gamers, but also geared towards content creators as well. You kind of get both. It's a very hybrid device. So they do not slack on the colors on these devices here. So not only is it a bright screen with high refresh rate, it looks killer. So this is just some Samsung video. Yeah, the screen looks great. It's a matte, well, it actually looks worse on my iPhone. It looks better in person, actually. Very bright, great colors. I'm going to test one more thing. And yeah, they're really good actually for an IPS screen. I'm not getting any bloom. The iPhone actually is not showing it either. There's a little bit of reflection from above, but yeah, this looks good. It actually looks better in person too. The iPhone is not doing this justice. Yeah, it's a nice screen. It actually is better than the Legion 7i Pro, but I mean, that makes sense. This has a little bit more of a creator vibe to it than the Legion 7i Pro, which is a little bit more gamery. So I mean, the screen is quite nice on this, especially for an IPS. Like, those blacks are surprisingly dark and very uniform, and there's absolutely no like bloom or whatever it's called. So it looks like when I went into GeForce Experience, it's actually recommending the studio drivers. And that's another kind of tip, that this is more of a hybrid device, something that isn't just designed for pure gamers. It's designed for someone, I guess, like me, who's a hybrid user, who's going to be using this for gaming, but also for video editing. You'll notice that when you're video editing with those studio drivers, it goes super quick. And you can still game with them, but you do still have access to the game ready drivers. You can see down here, it has the game ready drivers down there. And so we have two options here. You can just click on this drop down. You can just click on this drop down here, and then you have two options: studio driver or game ready driver. Okay, so I'm actually working on this video on this laptop, and we'll just see how long it takes to bring in a pretty big clip here. So we'll bring in, this is a big one here, 3 gigabytes, bring that in, and we'll bring it on the timeline, see how long it takes to process the audio. Boom, done. Okay, so we'll just export this kind of like default here. So I just want to see how quick it goes. We're going to go with 60 FPS at 1080p. Again, this is like a 26-minute video. And yeah, let's just see how fast it goes. We'll come in here and we'll do the NVIDIA, which we need. And let's see how quick it goes. And there we go. Export times. Took 8 minutes to do a 20-minute video, several tracks, 1080p 60. So that's actually pretty good, to be honest. Okay, and here's a look at the built-in webcam. I don't have any light really coming on my front. There's quite bright above and then behind. So it seems to be doing a pretty good job. The audio we'll have to test afterwards, but the resolution looks okay. It's nothing special. Yeah, it's not like blurry or anything. And now we'll do some synthetic benchmarks. So here is the 3D Mark Timespy score. Graphics score of just shy of 11,000, so that's actually really good. CPU score of 13,000, that's also really good for a 13700H, so very good performance there. If we look at the Cinebench R23 scores, we're getting 18,740 on multi-core, also a very good score, and single core of 1904, so we're getting good results here. And this is on performance mode. On balanced mode, if we actually drop the wattage down, we're still getting good performance, 16,728 on multi-core and 1506 on single core, and that's on just balanced mode, so very good performance overall. If you look at the SSD, we have a Micron SSD here. I just got the 512. You can spec it out all you want, but I mean, this is enough for an operating system. Considering there's a second slot, you can just throw in a large storage drive, and incredibly good speeds here. We're getting 6,700 megabytes per second reads, 4,300 megabytes per second writes, etc. You can go down the graph here and see the results. They're quite good, very impressive. If you look at the battery life, this is not the best battery you're going to get on anything. You can see here we're getting 8 hours of battery life, and I'm not really doing anything here. It's just on best power efficiency, and I'm really just doing nothing, just word processing. We're getting 8 hours, but in mixed use, you're not going to get that. If you look to the next video here, the next clip here, I'm actually looking at a YouTube video. I have 93% and I'm getting 4 hours and 4 minutes. That's pretty standard, I would say, for what I'm getting on this laptop over a week of testing. Basically, if I'm watching some YouTube and just browsing and, not letting the computer idle but actually using it, it's probably around 4 hours, maybe 4.5, just of mixed use or whatever. So pretty standard, I guess. It's a huge battery, but the 13th gen Intel stuff isn't the best on battery life. If you are very concerned about battery life, you may want to wait on the AMD model of this that has a 7840 HS, because you will get better battery life on that. I can almost guarantee you. All right, so now we'll do some game testing. I'm going to test a couple games in this video just externally like this. I want you guys to experience what I'm experiencing exactly in terms of noise in that. I am going to do a follow-up video where I test probably 9, 10, 11, 12 very demanding games. I'll probably use game capture for that, just to keep it a little more refined. But for this one, I want to do it externally. So let's see here, test out the noise. Okay, so this is performance mode. Let's switch it over to balanced. quite a bit lower. We're going down by like 7 or 8 dB. So 1600p high. Let's just see what we get out of this. Might be a little rough, but we'll see. So 1600p high, and it looks like we're getting, 40-ish FPS, 20 lows. You can see the VRAM up there. We're at 7 gigabytes. That's one of the major benefits of the 4060 this year over the 3060 from last year. The 3060 last year and the 3060 Ti, they only have 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Here we have 8. So you can see right off the bat, we're using 12. If we were on a 3060, we would be hitting a VRAM limit. So, so let's see what we can do. Okay, so let's throw on performance mode. It's going to get noisy, but we'll see what we get in terms of a frame rate increase. So decent boost of performance there. 6 or 7 on average, I would say, more. Now we're at still 1600p medium, and I just threw on the lightest FSR quality, and huge difference in performance. You can see there, the average went up to 71, so quite a big performance boost there. We're over 60 on average locked. The lows are great, 44. Let's throw it into balanced real quick. See if we drop quite a bit. Actually, so I've been noticing this, and you'll see this in a lot of my videos with the new 4000 series Legions and LOQ and all the different laptops that I've been testing this year. When you go to balanced mode, you're actually not getting a huge difference in performance. It looks like we're losing about 4 or 5 FPS. So a lot of times these GPUs are actually quite efficient at a lower watt. And you can see up here, the wattage is only at about 80 or so, 85, whereas before we were at 110. So we're dropping down like 30-ish watts. Quite a bit, like that's like 20 to 30% drop in wattage, but our performance only dropped like 3 or 4 frames. So that's a trend you're going to find with a lot of these NVIDIA chips. Okay, we'll test one more very demanding game. Here we are in The Last of Us. We'll start with performance mode again, and we'll just kind of see what we can get, and then we'll reduce it down to balanced. Yeah, so 1600p high native. Let's see what we can get here. We're on performance mode, so it'll be a little noisy, but I suspect it's going to run totally fine. You can see there, once again, my narrative about VRAM, 7.5 gigabytes. That's nice that the 4060 has 8 gigabytes this year. It really does come in handy when it comes to this type of gaming. So quality DLSS, just the latest DLSS, and what I suspect is going to happen here is the lows are going to be better. 71 average. It's making a huge difference on the lows, to be honest. So this is actually probably the way to go. 1600p high, and just throw in quality DLSS. Well, let's throw it on balance and just see what happens when we scale the GPU a bit. I suspect it's still going to perform fine. So you can hear the sound went down quite a bit, the noise went down quite a bit, and it's not actually making really any difference. Like I said in the previous game, the scaling on these GPUs is what's most impressive. The 4000 series NVIDIA, they get ripped in reviews all the time for being, not a huge improvement over last year in terms of, max wattage performance, which I agree with, but that's not everything. What I like here is that, we're only running at 85 watts here, 83, 75 in some cases, up to 85 watts instead of 115, and the drop in FPS was like nothing. So silent mode is going to dramatically decrease our wattage. You can see there's only at 55. Let's see what kind of performance we get here. Jeez. Very good performance. This is silent. How noisy is this thing? It's not making any noise at all. 41. The fans are on, but they're very quiet. And look at the performance on silent mode. We're at 55 watts. Crazy good performance. I've been using this Legion 7 Slim here for about 4 or 5 days now, and I'm very impressed with this laptop. I'm going to call it right now, it's only July 2023, but I'm going to call it right now that this laptop is probably going to be laptop of the year for me. This is the Intel model, the AMD, it's probably going to be, they're both the same, it just depends which one you go with, but I think the Legion 7 Slim in general from Lenovo for 2023 is an absolute winner, and I think it's going to be laptop of the year. This specific model here that I have here, this configuration, I think is the way to go. The 1600p screen, it looks great. You could get the 3.2K screen, but the 1600p screen it performs amazingly well. It looks great. And the 4060, I think, is the way to go in this. I've tested 4070 laptops, a couple of them specifically. I've tested the Legion 7 Pro, tested the Legion 5 Pro with the 4070, and it performs great. But the 4060 in this performs basically the same as the 4070. And you can spec this out with the 4070, but I don't think it's worth it. Unless they're basically the same price, I don't think it's worth the upgrade. The 4060 here is 8 gigabytes, just like the 4070. The performance is shockingly good. It's not just the raw performance of this laptop that is impressive to me. I mean, obviously, you can throw it in. You can throw in performance mode. You get pretty good thermals. The fans get kind of noisy, but performs very well. But what is impressive to me is the fact that you can throw it in balanced mode. The fans go down quite a bit. Your wattage drops down to like 75 watts, 65 watts, and your performance doesn't really take a hit. Like maybe a little bit, a few FPS here and there, but still performs very well. And even more impressive is the fact that you can throw this into silent mode. And on silent mode, your wattage drops way down. The fans almost turn off. The laptop does become more or less silent, but your performance is outstanding in games considering the low wattage of it. So for gaming performance, I mean, shockingly good. When it comes to video editing, I mean, you throw in the studio drivers instead of using the gaming drivers, and it's going to perform very, very well as well. I mean, you're going to be, if you're doing video editing, that kind of thing, you're going to have no issues with this laptop. It is an incredibly good performer. The CPU on the Intel is obviously a great performer. I mean, obviously, and I'm assuming that the AMD model is going to be good. We'll have to see when it comes out, but I've tested the 7840 HS and other laptops, and I was quite impressed with it. This year, I think it's going to come down to, if you want the max performance, maybe get the Intel model. If you want a little bit better thermals and battery life, get the AMD model. But regardless, I think these Lenovo 7s for 2023 are an absolute winner. This is the most premium Legion that they offer this year, just like in the 2022 model. Even the 7i Pro that I've tested, which is their flagship, they cut some corners here and there to keep the cost down because they're so expensive. There are no corners cut on this laptop. It is an all metal chassis. I mean, brushed metal, very, very nice design, great port selection. It's a beautiful laptop, beautiful screen, beautiful keyboard, beautiful trackpad. The weight is good. I mean, it's not super light, but you're looking at about a 4-pound laptop that's quite thin and is going to perform incredibly well.